Okay, let's dive in. We're looking at something pretty common today,
Right. Getting rid of old appliances.
specifically for folks in Pierce County, Washington. You know, that old washing machine cluttering up the garage, or maybe a business with an old freezer.
Yeah, it's a bigger headache than you'd think. We looked at how Rapid Holloway handles this.
Exactly. Our mission here is simple. Understand how they make appliance disposal easier,
Hmm.
right there in those specific service areas.
Because let's face it, figuring out what to do with a dead appliance is, well, frustrating.
Definitely. Especially for people listening in places like Bonnie Lake or maybe Sumner, Puyallup. It's a real issue.
It really is. So the core problem, why is it so tough?
Well, first off, they're usually huge and heavy.
Right. Just physically moving them is a challenge. You can hurt your back easily.
And then there's the stuff inside, isn't there? Like chemicals.
Precisely. Refrigerators and air conditioners have refrigerants like Freon, you know. That stuff needs very careful handling. It's bad news if it leaks into the atmosphere. Much worse than CO2, actually.
Oh, okay. So you can't just leave it on the curb for trash day.
No, definitely not. There are regulations. And that's where a service like Rapid Holloway positions itself.
As the sort of easy button.
Yeah, pretty much. They come to your place, whether it's a home in Parkland or a business in Tacoma,
They do the heavy lifting, get it out.
and then they deal with the disposal or recycling side, making sure it's all done correctly, responsibly.
So it takes the worry away for the customer. No figuring out environmental rules.
Exactly. Peace of mind. Plus, they operate across a really wide area in Pierce County.
Yeah, let's list those again. It's Bonnie Lake, Prairie Ridge, Sumner, Puyallup.
Summit, Waller, Midland, Fife, Milton, Edgewood.
Lakeland South, Federal Way, Tacoma, Parkland, and Spanaway. So if you're in any of those towns,
This service is available to you.
okay, and you mentioned responsible disposal. It's
Yeah.
not just chucking it, right?
Right. They actually try to give working appliances a second life.
Oh, that's interesting. So if your old dishwasher still runs fine, but you upgraded,
They might connect it with the donation center. So instead of scrap, it helps someone out.
that's great. A family in need in, say, Puyallup or Edgewood could benefit.
Exactly. It's a really positive alternative.
But what about the ones that are truly broken, like beyond repair?
For those, recycling is the priority. Appliances are full of materials, metals, plastics.
Things you definitely don't want just sitting in a landfill leaching chemicals.
Precisely. And some parts have actual value, like copper. You find quite a bit in refrigerators and water heaters.
So recycling recovers those resources. Less need for new mining.
It's the sustainable approach. Good for Pierce County, good for the planet.
Okay, what kinds of appliances do they take? Is it just the big kitchen stuff?
No, it's pretty comprehensive. Air conditioners, dishwashers, trash compactors.
Fridges, freezers, obviously.
Yeah, and lawnmowers, garden equipment,
Yeah.
stoves, ranges, ovens, microwaves, water heaters.
Washing machines, dryers.
Their site basically says pretty much any powered appliance.
So pretty much covers anything you'd need hauled away from, like Milton or Fife.
Seems like it. One call could handle multiple items.
So for you listening in Summit or Waller, what are the practical choices? Option one is using a professional service like this.
Right. The convenience factor is huge. They come to you, remove it.
No heavy lifting, no transport worries, no wondering if you're complying with disposal laws.
It simplifies everything.
Option two, if it works, is donation. We mentioned that. You could look up local centers near you in Spanaway or Parkland, too.
Definitely worth exploring for functional items.
And I suppose option three, if it's fairly new or valuable, you could try selling it yourself.
Sure, that's always a possibility for items with remaining life and value.
Okay, let's talk cost. Getting rid of a fridge, you mentioned it needs special handling. Does it cost more?
Generally, yes. They mention a typical range, maybe $50 to $150 for refrigerator removal.
Which makes sense given the refrigerant handling fees and regulations.
Exactly. That specialized process adds to the cost compared to, say, an old stove.
And you touched on scrap value fridges, and water heaters might have some because of copper.
Yeah, those often contain enough recoverable metal to have some intrinsic scrap value, which recyclers account for.
Okay, so wrapping this up, for anyone in those Pierce County areas, Bonnie Lake, Prairie Ridge, all the way to Tacoma and Spanaway, with an appliance they need gone, what's the call to action?
Rapid Holloway makes it pretty easy to get started. You can text them for a quote.
The number is 253-820-6311. That's 253-820-6311. Texting for a quote sounds quick.
Or you can book online through their website. They even mention a potential 10% discount for booking online.
Good tip. And it's worth noting, they do more than just appliances, right?
Yeah, general junk removal,
Yeah.
even some demolition services, so useful for bigger clearouts too.
So it really looks like a solid option for hassle-free, responsible appliance disposal across a big chunk of Pierce County.
Seems that way. Convenient and conscientious.
So the final thought for you listening in Pierce County. Think about that old appliance taking up space, maybe in your Federal Way business or your Bonnie Lake home. Consider the reclaimed space, sure, but also the environmental side of disposal.
And the ease of just having someone handle it properly.
What could clearing that out enable for you? Maybe it's just less clutter. Maybe it's peace of mind, knowing it was handled right here in your community.
Yeah.
What's the one step you could take?